the service. He is one of 7 Marines to earn the Medal of Honor twice. Dan Daly grew up in Brooklyn and Queens and retired to the home of his sister less than a mile from here in Glendale. 100 years ago today, Dan and his Marines were on a ship, the SS America, headed home to New York. It is docked May 7th. To honor Dan Daly today, please welcome Sergeant Major Bradley Beodo from the Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. Sergeant Major Beodo entered the Marine Corps 27 years ago and, like Dan Daly, first served as a rifleman. Today, he is the Group Sergeant Major for Marine Air Control Group 28, who will be bringing scores of Marines to Fleet Week, New York.
Lieutenant General Berlakis, Brigadier General Seeley, Rear Admiral Rock, Brigadier General Leone, distinguished guests. Thank you for being here today. Your presence alone shows your absolute genuine concern for all these great nations being represented here today. I really want to thank everybody who had anything to do with putting this ceremony together, especially the U.S. Centennial, the World War I Centennial Commission. Thank you to the color guards and the rifle detail here behind me, and also thank you to some of New York's finest for protecting our perimeter so we can do this important ceremony here in a safe and secure environment. We appreciate it. As you've already heard so far about some of these heroes, and afterwards, if you're walking through the cemetery, you're going to learn, you're going to read, you're going to learn, you're going to hear a lot about so many different stories or acts of heroism that these men and women have already stamped their names or their marks in the history books. Today I have the distinct honor to say a few brief remarks about a United States Marine Corps legend, Sergeant Major Dan Daly. We actually have a few of his extended family members here with us today too, and we appreciate you guys for being here. What a beautiful national cemetery this is to have this event here. Sergeant Major Daly earned 2 Medals of Honor, 1 Navy Cross, and countless other medals for his courage and heroism. He was actually, a lot of people don't know, but he was actually nominated for a 3rd Medal of Honor. However, there were some people back in that days who thought or felt that no one individual should actually rate 3 Medals of Honor. Respect is earned, it's not given. It's not the rank that you wear, it's rather the conduct of your actions. Dan Daly exemplified this. He won his 1st Medal of Honor as a private. 15 years later, he earned his 2nd Medal of Honor as a gunnery sergeant. Both of these Medals of Honor are on display right now at the National Marine Corps Museum outside of Quantico, Virginia. First Medal of Honor was earned during the Boxer Rebellion in China for single-handedly defending his position against repeated attacks and inflicting countless casualties. The 2nd Medal of Honor was earned 15 years later fighting along U.S. forces in Haiti against rebel attacks. Here in the Navy Cross during the Battle of Belleau Wood, World War I. Sergeant Major Daly is a Marine legend that all enlisted Marines learn about as early as boot camp. Stories and lessons learned from this iconic Marine are still discussed in Marine Corps schools and courses today. He was an extremely, extremely humble man, but his actions demand that we talk about and still recognize him and honor him today. One of the stories I came across just recently talked about 2 young Marine combat replacements on the front lines in France. The Marines were told to go ahead and report to Gunnery Sergeant Daly. One of the young Marines looked at him and said, "Do you mean he really exists? I thought it was just a story they used to tell us about in boot camp by Paul Bunyan." One of Dan Daly's most iconic quotes was, "Come on, you sons of bitches, do you want to live forever?" He said that to his Marines right before charging the Germans at Belleau Wood. Another account of that story said, or had him quoted as saying, "For Christ's sakes, man, come on, do you want to live forever?" Whatever his actual words were on that day, you can guarantee that he was just trying to lead and motivate his Marines. The essence of war is violence, and it takes a leader like Dan Daly to lead others through the worst of times. Marines are inspired by courage, and it absolutely is infectious. Those of you who have been through combat before have probably seen leaders at different levels who will preach to you and say, "I will go to the gates of hell for you." And that might be true, absolutely. But all too often you'll see that person will not go through those gates. I guarantee you if Dan Daly was with you, not only would he go to the gates of hell for you, he would breach those gates and he would be the first one to charge the mound in time of need. At one point during World War I, Sergeant Major Daly single-handedly eliminated a machine gun bunker with only a .45 caliber pistol and a few hand grenades. He was wounded 3 times during that fight. Sergeant Major Daly perfectly displayed the embodiment of U.S. Marines and our unparalleled esprit de corps. Military historians would tell you that if you were going to war, you would want Dan Daly on your side. When Sergeant Major Daly retired February 6, 1929, he started to live a much slower and quieter life as a guard at a Wall Street bank here. It was a pretty well-guarded bank at that time. Major General Smedley Butler, another Marine who received the Medal of Honor twice, described Dan Daly as the fightingest Marine he ever knew. Sergeant Major Michael Barrett was the 17th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, also born and raised here in New York. One day he sent out an email, and I say that email, I thought I described Dan Daly perfectly. Our breed is rare. We intuitively know the joy and sense of purpose that comes through great challenge and subordination to a calling greater than self. We know what it means to keep company with the finest men and women in the world under the toughest conditions. For so many years, an elite class of Americans has continuously answered our nation's call. Indomitable in crisis, fearsome in battle, compassionate in spirit, and generous in our manner. As we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the New York Comrades returning from World War I invite all of you to join the festivities here in 20 days for Fleet Week New York 2019 as we pay tribute to heroes like Sergeant Major Dan Daly, who sacrificed so we can live as free men and women today. No state sacrificed more than New York. Over 500,000 New Yorkers served in World War I. 13,956 New Yorkers lost their lives. That's 12% of the total U.S. troops who were killed during World War I. As you get to know those young men, these veterans, through Fleet Week New York, you're going to see a glimmer of Sergeant Major Dan Daly in every single Marine that you meet. We thank New York for the support, the hospitality, the generosity. Thank you for the time today. Thank you, and Semper Fidelis.